Welcome, everybody. We'll just get started in a couple minutes after people are all joined. Awesome. Yes. Thanks, everyone, for getting attendance started in the chat. For those of you here already, we want to wish you in advance a very happy Thanksgiving from the entire PNQIN team to you and yours. And we'll get started shortly. In the meantime, please do type your name and institution into the chat. And if you'd like to share what you're most looking forward to about Thanksgiving, I'd love to read that. I know for me, as always, the food, but also this is the first Thanksgiving with all of my fiance's siblings, spouses, kids. And so it'll be a big happy group. And we're expecting to have a lot of fun. Well, other reminders, love the mass chaos and all the food. Yes, Barb. Oh, the Manchester, Connecticut Thanksgiving Day Road Race from Allison. Wow. Small gathering of family. Love seeing my sons. Wonderful. Cozy little Thanksgiving without any travel. Probably wise, as I know it's always so hectic this time of year. Thanks, Chelsea. Friends visiting. Wonderful. Celebrating with the family and first granddaughter. Oh, congrats, Shirley. That's wonderful. My baby's first Thanksgiving. Love it. Looking forward to being on the other side of Thanksgiving. Margie, does that mean not cooking?
My husband does most of the cooking, so which I'm very grateful about. But
Absolutely.
it'll be nice to not have all the people in the house.
Yeah, absolutely. Spending time with family, playing games, family fun, cranberry sauce and sweet potato pie. I haven't had lunch yet, Audra, so you're making me hungry. And yes, Caroline, our project coordinator, is visiting her brother in Italy over Thanksgiving. I'm so jealous. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Well, a couple final reminders, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Meadows to get us started. Please mute yourselves when not speaking. Feel free to type any questions into the chat during the webinar, and we will have some time for Q&A. And then, as always, these webinars are recorded and will be posted to the PNQIN website with slides afterwards. So for anyone who got their Thanksgiving celebration started early this week, that's wonderful. And we hope you watch the webinar when you're able. Awesome. So for those just joining, yes, please continue putting your names in the chat for attendance and anything you're looking forward to about the holiday. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Audra.
Great. Thank you, Kaylee. I'm also just so emotional today. And I'm also looking at my baby's first Thanksgiving. I love that. That just, I don't know. I love that. I love that about delivering babies. I love that about working on L&Ds. It's being part of so many first moments for people. And I think that's just terrific. So thank you for sharing that. Well, welcome, everybody. So we're in our year 2, and thank you for all that you've done. the work that you've done in your own institutions outside of PNQIN, but also thank you for all you've done collaborating with us together to move this equity work forward. I'm just so proud of everybody in Massachusetts and so happy. I'm saying that I'm being so emotional because of the fact that I've been working with a lot of other states in the last couple of months and noticing how little others have necessarily been able to accomplish because it hasn't been such a framework like what we have in Massachusetts, just a really welcoming infrastructure from our Department of Public Health, from our institutions, and then a phenomenal cadre of folks really doing some great work to make sure that moms and babies have really great experiences, great outcomes, and that families, continue to thrive. So just want to say thank you. I also want to say thank you and invite Shirley to give a talk for us on the equity work they're doing at Baystate Franklin. I've always been a big fan of Shirley since our very first bundles when you'd come on and show us your fishbone diagrams and all the work that's been happening at Baystate Franklin. It's just a great reminder of how when we put our minds to it and use some of these quality improvement tools, just how wonderful things can turn out for our institutions and what work we can move forward for our families, because we're just in an ever-changing environment where those needs are important. So without further ado, I want to just go to the next slide and introduce one more time and say thank you to our Equity Bundle Work Group. All the faces here. So even though I'm the one talking, Kaylee's talking, you'll hear Shirley talking, there's many of us who've done some work in the background to ensure that this work is moving forward. We'll go to the next slide. We have 22 hospitals that have been engaged in the bundle. And as we move into the remainder of this year, we will close out in June this portion of the bundle. And again, just want to say thank you to all the hospitals participating, but there's always continued effort to address health equity as we move into our maternal mental health bundle. So we'd love to continue to see this level of participation as we move in that direction as well. All right, let's go to the next slide. So we're taking a moment to see if of the groups that are on, if you would like to type into the chat, what is your equity aim statement? What are you doing in your institution? We're going to hear from, forgive the noise if you can hear that in the background. We're going to hear from Shirley, and we're going to hear about what they've done and what they're aiming to do at Baystate. Would love for others to type into the chat, what is it that your institution is aiming to do where equity is at the center? Is it a program related to particular teen birth so that you can use shared decision making and then look at your data by race, ethnicity to be sure your experiences are improving? Is it stratifying your data? Is it educating your clinicians? What is your equity aim statement? We'd love to hear from you. I'm just looking through to see if we have any in the chat. And if you even want to just send it to directly to Kaylee, directly to me, that'd be great too. If you want to just test it out. All right, why don't we go to the next slide as we're waiting for others to also put in their equity aim statement. And Caroline, if you can put a note in the chat to allow people to put it there.
We do have one, Audra.
Oh, great, great. We have a statement that states, our goal is to provide optimal healthcare that champions racial equity, values different backgrounds, and celebrates unique perspectives. We acknowledge that systemic racism is a public health issue, and our mission is to dismantle the barriers and provide health equity for all. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, and Jody Ann Pinckney noted that achieving 70% RSV vaccine uptake for all birthing people across all racial and ethnic groups. Oh, that's fantastic, Jody. And we're having a terrific time with people coming and requesting the vaccine, always having it available, and making sure insurance coverage is there has been a challenge for us. I don't know if that's a challenge for other people. Is that not strange to everybody that it's one of the things we've used to never having to pay for is a vaccine, and to know that you'd be charged $700-800 for a vaccination that blew my mind. Chris also shared our statement at MGH is a work in progress. Time that you're asking, we just started talking about getting our diversity group back up and running. Yeah, that's about right for a lot of places too, Krista. Just making sure that we regroup, because having that team working together to make sure that you have an aim and move that aim forward is really important, because doing it alone is a challenge, and especially in the busy paced world that we're in right now, it's hard to do that work alone. So having a team is really key. All right, terrific. Let's go to the next slide. So without further ado, I want to introduce Shirley Hamill, who's going to talk to us about eliminating racial and ethnic disparities causing maternal morbidity and mortality among pregnant and postpartum patients in the birthplace. So we'll turn it over to you, Shirley.
Thank you very much. So I'm Shirley Hamill. I'm the unit manager at Baystate Medical Center out here in Greenfield, Massachusetts. We call ourselves the Birthplace. We've done a lot of work over the course of the last few years around eliminating racial and ethnic disparities causing mortality, morbidity in pregnant and postpartum patients here at the Birthplace. Next slide. So this is a little bit about us. We are out in Western Mass in Greenfield, Massachusetts, which is just about 30 miles north of Baystate Medical Center in Springfield. We are a sister hospital to Baystate Medical Center, so we are lucky to have their expertise and collaboration with us when we need it. We are a midwifery model, so all of our patients are delivered by midwives unless they need a operative delivery. We have about 425 births per year and 29% induction rate, a 32% C-section rate. We do about 20 water births a year. And our race stratification is white. We have 86.7% white, 1.4% Black, and 4.2% Hispanic. So doing this work, we actually realized that our Black birthing moms are such a small part of our birthing moms altogether, but we want to do a good job for all of our patients, but particularly those that are highest risk. Next page. So background, as you guys all know, since you're learning this through PNQIN, and that Black, American Indian, Native American women are 2 to 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women. So at the Birthplace, we know that we can do better. We've made a commitment to our patients and each other that we will embrace, learn, and practice cultural diversity, equity, and inclusion. So when we got together as a group to develop what we call the Anti-Racism Committee, oops, back one. Thank you. We talked about how are we going to do this. We all know that most of us come to work with some I'm trying to think of the word, it's escaping me now, but we have some thoughts and feelings of our own, and but we decided that we were going to come together with humility versus competency. We know that we'll never be 100% perfect, but we're going to try really hard to do better. We understand that none of us are experts and we'll never be perfect, but we'll enter this work with humility, intentionality, thoughtfulness, and openness. And we committed to each other as a unit that we will do what we call calling in rather than calling out. So if someone has a misstep in speaking or providing care in a way that makes other people uncomfortable or that's not particularly perfect, if you will, that we will call them in and give them either just, embrace them, maybe give them a little bit more education. We'll give gracious feedback to each other, as a few of us are Speak Up champions here at the Birthplace. We identified and addressed implicit bias. That's what I was trying to think of, that we all come to work with some implicit bias. In doing that, we developed the Anti-Racism Committee, and all of our staff mandatorily did education for anti-racism education. We did a presentation called Whiteness at Work. Tanya Santos, who many of you may know, who works at Baystate Medical Center, did grand rounds around this and actually came and spoke just to our unit at our staff meetings and did her presentation actually. And we also did some work with Sabia Wade titled Racism and Privilege in Birth Work. We did her training. And then we added to our debrief forms that we do. We debrief all of our births, and we added the line, how did bias play a role in this particular case? So did it or did it not, and how did it? So that we don't forget that. We don't forget that potentially there's bias that drives some decisions and things like that. We also developed an anti-racism lending library, which is right out at our nurse's station. Anybody can borrow the books and take them home, read them, return them, look at them at work when they have some free time. Next slide. And we had the privilege of working with PNQIN for the postpartum hemorrhage bundle and the maternal hypertension bundle, which we know both of those things, hypertension and hemorrhage, increase people's risk for mortality and morbidity. So we did a lot of work. I think I talked about this work in the last presentation that I did, but we did a lot of work on our unit to improve our hemorrhage risk and bundle, create a bundle, and then the postpartum hypertension. And both of those are still going strong. We still do PBL on all of our C-sections. Our patients are being treated for hypertension within an hour, almost 100% of the time, if not 100% of the time. And we also do mock codes. We just did our mock codes in November. We have one more in December that focus on postpartum hemorrhage and hypertension. So that we continue the education, continue talking about it, and continue keeping it at the forefront of our minds. We've also partnered with the emergency department to educate them on the post-birth warning signs, maternal hemorrhage, and hypertension in pregnancy and postpartum. And it's really interesting how it's opened their eyes that blood pressure in a postpartum mom or a pregnant mom doesn't need to be what they normally call, severe hypertension in a 75-year-old male, female, that they need to take seriously those blood pressures that are lower, higher for the woman, but lower than what they're used to being worried about. So, next slide. And the biggest thing that we did this past year was implemented teen birth. And because of the work that we did with teen birth, we haven't hopped into the equity bundle with PNQIN, which, I feel sad that we missed out on it, but we did a lot of work through teen birth. So we know for patient experience to be top notch, that dignity is important, not only because patients deserve to have dignified care and have a great experience, but it also elevates the patient's voice and empowers them in the decision making to provide safe care. So teen birth is a standardized approach for all patients to be the center of the shared decision making. And as you can see on the left, that shared decision making can improve patient satisfaction, safety, reduce anxiety, but in a lot of places it's not used. We found as we were doing the teen birth work that we had been using shared decision making for a very long time, but we were able to really survey our patients, and I'll show you that in a few minutes, but to find out that it maybe doesn't happen 100% of the time. Our midwives and our providers and our nurses are really good at advocating for the patient to have their own advocacy and shared decision making. But not everybody felt that way. So it was good to actually read that. So teen birth actually is a huddle that happens at the patient's bedside. It's generally the patient and her family members as the center of the care team. And then we have a provider, usually a midwife and a nurse, and anybody else that might be important for that particular moment of her care. They meet in the room, they speak with the patients, and obviously including them in the conversation, and actually having the partner be the one to write on the whiteboard. And I'll show you how to whiteboard in a minute. But the most important part of the huddle is to elicit the patient's preferences and distinguish her comfort needs, what she wants for comfort, discuss what's happening in her labor process, and what's happening with the baby, either whether the baby is, still inside being monitored or intermittent monitored or what have you, but we talk about that. And then we use a shared decision making board, which actually we call it the whiteboard. And like I said, a lot of times we have the partner right on the whiteboard because the board is theirs. It's theirs to have right there in front of them. So they always have the plan of care center right there in front of them. Next slide. So again, this is us. This is us when we were doing our teen birth training. We did, during the process of the teen birth training, get awarded the high performing department award for patient experience at Baystate Health. So that was pretty exciting to have that happen at the same time that we were rolling out Teen Birth. But we did a lot of education with the staff around Teen Birth, and we actually took it off campus to our local movie theater and showed the movie Aftershock, which was new to a lot of people. They hadn't seen it. A couple people had seen it, but it was really eye-opening, and it was really very appropriate for the kind of work that we're going to be doing with Teen Birth. After the movie showed, we did some scenarios and used mock-ups of our whiteboards and just talked through some huddle situations, and then we rolled it out. Next slide. So we launched Teen Birth in July 2023. These are whiteboards on the right. You can see that our labor whiteboard is the top one, and the patient's name and support people are at the top of the care team. And then we write in the nurse, the midwife, the OB doctor, and the pediatrician. And right below that is where we write the patient's preferences. So anything that they want, whether it's water, tub, if they want to avoid an epidural, anything that they say is what is in their birth plan, we write on the under preferences. And then for comfort, we have a comfort cart that has multiple things in it for patient comfort, and they can add, there's like a comfort cart menu, and then they can look through the menu and decide what they want out of the comfort cart, and we can write it on there. But they may just want twinkle lights in their room, or they might want someone to give them back pressure or something like that, whatever they feel is going to help them with comfort. And then on the right side of the whiteboard, we write the plan of care for the mom and for the baby, what our next steps would be, and when we're going to huddle again. A lot of times the next huddle just comes with a change of status of labor, or when the patient wants to huddle again. So we do that. And then our postpartum planning board is works a lot like a discharge planning board, if you will. Again, the baby's name, the patient's name, the nurse, midwife, OB doctor, pediatrician. We have an area for, again, mom's preferences for her and her baby or her family. We have the plan of care for the mom in the middle, the baby on the right. And then we have things like that we have to get done during the time of postpartum, like birth certificates and safe sleep and breast pumps and things like that. So by having all that on the board, we can check them off as they get done, so the patients can see when they are getting closer to discharge by getting all the things that we need to get done with them. And then also we talk to them about when they feel they want to go home. Do they want to go home early? Do they want to go home, by 10 in the morning or by 4 o'clock in the afternoon? And we write that on the board so that the providers that go into her room know how to plan their day, so we can hopefully get them out by their anticipated discharge date and time. Next slide. So prior to launching Teen Birth, we did a pre-implementation survey. We had about 60 people hand in their survey. So we had about a 48% response rate. And you can go to the next slide. I'm going to quickly go through the kind of questions that are on the survey so that you understand what they're being surveyed. Here's where you can see our race and ethnicity breakdown, and then the educational breakdown of how much school they attended, and then their perception of their mode of delivery and whether they are induced for medical reasons, elective, or neither, or not being induced at all. Again, these surveys are the patient's perceptions. And then the next slide. The pre-launch survey showed that the majority of our patients feel that they take part in decision-making and care planning, and that they feel heard, their choices are respected, the staff introduce themselves and explain their role in the care, and we ask permission before carrying out exams and treatments. So great, we had really good information that the majority of our patients already feel that we care for them in the Teen Birth model. Next slide. So these are the questions that they get asked during the patient survey, and we have done a post-launch survey that have the same questions. So they get asked if they could take part in the decisions about their care, if they could ask questions about their care, whether or not the healthcare team did a good job listening to me and that they felt heard. Next page. My healthcare choices were respected by my healthcare team. And you can see the blue is strongly agree. So they're answering strongly agree to these questions with a little bit of agree and some either disagree or agree. And then my healthcare team understood my background, home life, and health history. Next slide. My healthcare team introduced themselves to me and my support person explained their role in my care when they entered the room. And then my healthcare team asked for my permission before carrying out exams and treatments. Next slide. Number 8 is like a reverse question, just to make sure that they're not just answering all the way down the, 11111. But I felt pressured by my healthcare team into accepting care I did not want or did not understand. So important that we find that they strongly disagree with that. And then when my healthcare team could not meet my wishes, they explained why. Next slide. I trusted my healthcare team to take the best care of me. My healthcare team did everything I wanted to help me with my pain. My healthcare team responded to my requests in a timely manner. Next slide. So some of the comments that patients wrote on the pre-implementation surveys were, I cannot say enough amazing things about this experience. I had zero expectations going into this and they were exceeded. I did not plan to labor for 30+ hours, get Pitocin, an epidural, or C-section, but each step of the process was explained and I had so much confidence in every person involved. I cannot thank you enough for helping me bring my baby into this world. So again, a couple more comments that were really like empowering for our team to realize that this is the kind of care that they're providing and that the patients feel it. Next slide. Then we did a post-launch survey and we had about 25, this is in September, so we've had quite a few months since then, but in September we had 25 completed post-birth teen birth launch. Next slide. And in post-birth, what we did was we compared those who felt they took part in a huddle versus those that said, yes, I definitely took part in a huddle. So you can see in the blue, those are people that said either no or they weren't sure if they took part in a huddle. And then the orange are those that did take part in a huddle. And these are the same questions that I just reviewed with you. And you can see most of the time, if a patient did not participate in a huddle, they did not feel that they could answer strongly agree with these questions. Next slide. And again, more reasons why huddles are important. But you can see the patients that felt like they did not take place in a huddle, but take part in a huddle are much lower. Again, next slide. And then one more time. So like I said, post-launch surveys were analyzed for those who felt they took part in the teen birth huddles and those that felt they did not participate in a huddle. And each question was compared that way. And it was clear that that there was a lower percent of patients who felt that they could take part in decision-making, felt heard, respected, and understood, were trustful of the care team, and felt responded to and felt their pain was assessed. That was lower when they reported that they did not participate in the teen birth huddle than those that did. Next slide. And this comment from one of the post-birth huddles says it all. The entire Birthplace team was incredible and completely exceeded our expectations. The entire staff went above and beyond to ensure our new one and ourselves were taken care of and comfortable throughout every process. It was made overly apparent that the staff generally cared about our well-being, health, comfort, and experience at such a special, memorable moment. We cannot say enough great things and plan to share our amazing experience with everyone that we know. We want all of our patients to walk away feeling that way. And that's why we feel like Teen Birth provides us a platform to give equitable care for everybody, and everybody will walk away hopefully feeling the same experience, the same love for the time that they were here, bringing their baby into the world, and felt respected, trusted, and cared for by our team. Next slide. And this is my email address and my phone number. If anybody has any questions, they can reach out. They're more than happy to answer questions by email. I can answer questions now if anybody has any. But that's been our process, trying to reduce disparity or inequity in care for all of our patients. One of the things that we're going to do in 2024 is we're going to actually look at our teen birth surveys through a private payer versus state Medicaid, and see if that changes the dynamics of who feels they had a huddle, who had one, who didn't have one, and how they felt about the care, stratified by payer. Because again, we don't have a lot of racial diversity, but we do have a lot of payer mix diversity. So that's our next project.
Thank you so much for that, Shirley. I actually am going to take the liberty of asking the first question because I was curious also about language diversity and geographic diversity, and just being where you are in the state. Do you have a lot of geographic diversity, people that are coming from far away?
It's interesting. We do. People will drive upwards towards an hour to come deliver here, because one, they hear that we provide wonderful, beautiful care, and also because we do water births. So a lot of patients that want to have a water birth will come specifically to Pioneer Women's Health for their prenatal care and then deliver here. But I do think the word is out that we do provide this very shared decision making, advocacy. Patients have the most important voice, and they do seek our care here.
And everyone, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to put your questions in the chat or raise your hand and we can call on you to ask Shirley a question. I do actually have a second question, Shirley, which is just, going back to the 90s. And this wasn't necessarily something I learned in medical school, right, to do shared decision making. So it's really neat to see where we are here in the 2020s to talk about what it looks like to elevate the experience of care for women and or birthing individuals. How do you feel like you've seen bringing this work into your workspace work with the culture of where you are? Because there's a mix of sort of new grad nurses, nurses that have been in the field for quite some time. Has it been really seamless? What do you think were some of the key sort of facilitators to getting everybody on board? I mean, to me, when I listen to this, it feels like a no-brainer. It feels easy, but at the same time, it is changing the way we work and sometimes adding to someone's work load rather than taking things off while we make these adjustments.
It was such a wide range of nurses that hopped on the anti-racism committee and that did a lot of that work. Almost the same group of nurses worked on LGBTQ work, gender work, and all of that. So, and it's probably 15 of our 40 nurses that are really strongly participating in this work. And everybody else just comes along. They know it's the right thing to do. And it's like when we first started doing the team birth work, our lead midwife was like, "We already do this. What are you asking us to change?" And I'm like, I'm not asking you to change anything really, because yes, we already do a really good job of this.
Yeah.
But as you can see, in those that felt they didn't have a huddle, their feelings towards their care was very different than those that did have a huddle. So it's really eye-opening and really important that everybody get on board and everybody treat the patients exactly the same way, and how they elicit their preferences, their comfort measures, and not allow, I don't want to use that word allow, but have them be the center of their care and not just one who we're giving care to, but we're including them. They're the most important person in the shared decision making.
Oh, great. Next, we have a question from Kristen Price, our Administrative Director for PNQIN. Kristen.
Thank you. Shirley, thanks for this great presentation. The data is very impressive. My question is, as Administrative Director for PNQIN, a question to you, but for really anybody on this call that has been part of this first team birth cohort. What are as I think the last webinar with team birth is in January, and I'm just wondering, what does sustainment look on the hospital side? And are there things that PNQIN can continue to support?
For us, sustainment, we're just starting. I mean, I think in the next few weeks is the last official collection of survey data. But we're going to keep collecting it. Betsy Lehman Center will continue to collect it. We're not sure yet how they're going to give it back to us. But we want to keep looking at it from a different focus and find out if there's, certain kinds of populations that need a little something different, So I think, I mean, for us, it's not going away, you know, so it's not gonna stop when we finish this project. But I don't know how many people that are on the call have worked with Team Birth, but if PNQIN could partner with them and everybody could get, you know, the education and start using the Team Birth model, I think that would be amazing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll share, Shirley. So the way we set up the maternal equity bundle is one of the measures is patient reported experiences. And so we did partner with Team Birth. So Team Birth came in early on, and 10 hospitals are working with both Team Birth and us in the equity bundle. So that way the Team Birth is the way they can engage in not only a tool to measure patient experience, but also a process to make sure that you can be successful in having good patient experience. And so we think that Team Birth model is a really beautiful combination of really engaging in something that is an equity tool, shared decision-making, and measuring how that could also improve. So we have been working, so we've got, of the 22 hospitals that are doing the equity bundle, 10 are engaged in Team Birth.
That's excellent. That's really good.
Yeah, we have another question actually from Jodianne Pinckney that said, what source will you be planning to use for payer data? Looking for ideas if it's been difficult to extract it from RPDR.
Well, when the patients fill out the survey, which actually was developed by Team Birth, it wasn't something that we developed. They actually answer whether they're Medicaid or private insurance. So when we stratify the data in that way, Betsy Lehman Center will have what the patient reports as their payer.
Ah, yeah. Is that helpful, Jodianne? Do you want to come off mute and?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was helpful. I was just wondering if
Okay.
there was a database people were using. Thank you.
Nice. We also have another question, Shirley. What were some of the growing pains, barriers, or unintended consequences that you encountered, and how did you mitigate that?
I'll say one of my biggest hoops to jump through, if you will, is to get the lead midwife on board. Again, she felt very sure that we provided this care for everybody already. And we believe we're taking great care of our patients, and our pre-surveys showed that we were taking great care of our patients, and they were really feeling respected. But it also showed the post implementation also showed that there's some people that don't perceive that they're getting a huddle, or that they're getting that shared decision-making model, or that they're having the moments that they need with their team together at one time, one place. So being part of Team Birth really opened our eyes to that. And that's where we're gonna, continue to look and focus on that to ensure that everybody's getting that same kind of care. But that was our biggest hurdle, was to bring our lead midwife on board.
Yeah, I really appreciate that comment, Shirley, because we often talk about our champions, and we know that you're a champion in the leadership role to make sure it's happening, but there are champions among us, right? So as we talk about early adopters and folks who get on sort of that innovation curve, and we talk about the people who are the traditionalists, it's oftentimes really great to know who that person is, so that we know what are the benefits of sort of the old way that we've done things, and what are the benefits of the new way we want to do things, and sort of try to bring all that wisdom together. And I like the word traditionalist, because in the textbooks, they use the word laggard, which just sounds so negative. Actually, it sounds like an insult. And really, that's not the case. The traditionalists help us make sure that we're not missing important components of what was there. And so I really appreciate you saying that. Bringing those folks on board really makes a huge difference.
Sure.
We do have a couple more questions if you're open to it. You good? Okay. All right. Do you still have, what Margie asked, do you still have huddles when they are admitted active in labor and fast and furious? Do they get annoyed filling in the whiteboard in the 30 seconds between contractions? I think that's a great question.
That's a great question. They don't have to fill it in. A nurse can fill it in, a midwife can fill it in, anybody can fill in the whiteboard. So if they're, obviously the midwife is coming in to talk to them about the plan, and talk to them to find out what they would like for their birth, right when they come in, even if they're rip roaring in labor, and then we'll try really hard to get it on the board, because especially at that time, their ability to remember what was discussed is probably less than if they weren't in, like active labor. So to have the board, it's their board. So to have the board in the room, they can just focus back on between contractions, what their plan is that they initiated with the team.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. And Mimi Pomerleau also wrote, Team Birth Program seemed to make your great commitment to shared decision-making more purposeful and communicates everyone provides all providers, nurses and patients.
Yeah, for sure. It just got us talking about the word shared decision-making. It brought that concept, although we were doing it, but we weren't talking about that we were doing it, we just did it. But it brought it to the forefront of everybody's thoughts that we all share the plan. We all share the discussion around the plan. And it's not that we're not taking care of the patient or providing care to the patient. We're all together taking care of each other.
And there's Mimi also made another comment that it's so important to explain or write, even when it's an emergency happening, because it keeps the calm in the room and helps the patient decrease their stress. So I think that's a really good point, Mimi. And there's one more question. So can you please give more examples of the type of items on the comfort cart?
Oh, yeah. The comfort cart was one of our midwives' ideas. And in it, it's kind of like a code card, if you will. It has multiple drawers. The top is multi-personal items like, whoops, can you still see me?
We can.
Okay, because my computer just went to sleep. The top drawer of personal items, we have chapstick that we can give to them. We have combs so that they can squeeze a comb during labor. We have sleep masks and earplugs. We have shower caps, so if they want to get in the shower but don't want to ruin their hair or get their hair wet and have to have cold wet hair. And we have, like little slippers and socks and things like that. That's all stuff that they can keep. The next couple drawers down, we have a whole drawer of affirmation cards. We have funny ones. We have, spiritual ones. We have just pictures and different things that people can, tape up. Hopefully nobody from Joint Commission is here, or tape up, or actually we have strings with little clothespins too, so they can put them on the clothespin and hang them in their room. We have lights, like Christmas lights or like little twinkle lights that they can, put in their room, either on the windowsill, or they can tape them up around the window or around their bed. We have battery operated candles. We have these things that project up onto the ceiling, like a really cool but like shapes and things like that. So they can keep their lights down in their room and keep the room dark. And then they can just have a little bit of light and a little bit of things they can focus on. We have iPods, if you will, so they can play their music if they want to. Trying to think of what else is in there. I think that's pretty much it right now. But if anybody has any other good suggestions for a comfort cart, I'd love to know.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Job. Great to see you. Thank you, Shirley. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for all that you brought to us. As you're talking, I'm just thinking, I love that vibe. I mean, I'm so used to working in these tertiary and quaternary centers where we're always thrilled and excited when patients bring those things. And we're like, oh, how sweet. The patient in room 4 brought these lights. It didn't occur to me to think that we could have them. So I love that comfort cart idea as well. So thank you so much.
My daughter just recently had a baby, and we wheeled that cart right in there. We decorated her room up so nice, and it was just so beautiful the whole time. It was just peaceful, and she had music, she had the lights, she had the candles. It was just gorgeous.
And Dr. Muta also added to the chat. Hi, Dr. Muta, happy holidays. Essential oils for the cart be something nice.
We are just starting to roll out aromatherapy here at Baystate Franklin, so
yeah,
we'll have those available too.
And nowadays, I've seen in the surgery centers, there are these like pillow pads. So it comes like these little tabs, and you can just peel it off and put it on someone's pillow, and you get the aromatherapy of maybe lavender or whatnot. So that way you don't have the actual oil, or you don't have to burn anything in the room.
We're just going to have nasal inhalers, actually. So.
Nasal inhalers. Okay. Those sound great. Oh, this has been terrific. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to put the slides back up and just do a couple of teaching topics. as we move into the last comments related to what's coming up as well. So Kaylee will also go into some announcements, but I just want to take a moment for just 2 minutes of your time to do a quick QI teaching pearl. If you can go to the next slide. I wanted to share that many of you know we talked about recently publishing 6 strategies to promote maternal equity through perinatal quality. And the one I wanted to highlight today is educating clinicians. And, you know, Shirley brought it up that she's also a Speak Up champion. We are so thrilled that we have over 500 Speak Up champions in the state of Massachusetts. That education has just been, you know, something all of us are very proud of and very happy to be among each other, having learned what it means to see that we can provide care that looks different to different people. And we want to make sure that the care that we provide, you know, in keeping with Shirley's talk, is high quality, yet the care that everyone wants for themselves, and being able to measure that and making decisions with our patients. So as we've been educating clinicians, one of our main focus areas for that, in addition to making sure that we talk about QI and QI strategies, is providing that education on the effect of racism and bias on maternal health care and outcomes. And why am I bringing this up is, you know, for many of you might be saying, this is something we talk about all the time. Why is this, you know, sort of more interesting today? I want to go to the next slide because I want to show you guys something. Recently at UCLA, one of the scholars there, who was in a presidential scholars program, published in September of this year an article that talks about what it means to learn critical Black history and how it can change white perspectives on racism in healthcare. And I bring this up because we've heard many people say that conversation and discussing racism, you know, is not going to change racism. But we do know conversation is where it all starts. And there's also been some data and lots of conversation, and many of you may have heard this, so definitely raise your hand or nod if this is something you've heard, is that really teaching bias has not been making a difference, that it's not changing things, that it's not improving things. And we've heard that on a number of occasions. We have anecdotal data that talks about that. We've had people, you know, giving us their experiences. But this particular researcher, Dr. Martin, recently published that when actually they looked at teaching critical Black history in comparison to celebratory Black history, in comparison to teaching no history, that they actually were able to see people change their perspectives. And this is really important. So the key takeaways here were 2/3 of white Americans believe that Black Americans do not experience racism or racial inequities in healthcare. We've seen that. We saw even in JAMA, there were 2 doctors that had published an entire report that racism didn't exist in healthcare, and people were outraged. As a matter of fact, I think they lost their positions within JAMA and the work that they were doing. And so with that, there's still a number, we know that that idea exists. So these UCLA psychologists exposed white study participants to well-documented history of medically related mistreatment of Black Americans. And so the person you see in the picture to the right, that's Fannie Lou Hamer. She's actually an idol of mine, someone that I really think about, that in the 1960s was a very vocal advocate of maternal health and women's health rights. Particularly because she received what they called the Mississippi appendectomy. She went in for a surgery to treat a problem she was having, and someone without her consent, so breaking the first rule of ethics for health professionals, which is that of autonomy. They did not have her consent. This person removed her reproductive organs. They took out her uterus, her tubes, her ovaries. She went into early menopause, those kinds of things. And what's interesting here is when shown that people learned those histories and not just the celebratory histories that we think about. So many of us, when we were in school and we think of February Black History Month, many of us learned about the celebratory history of African Americans to celebrate that we are different and there is diversity in our communities, but we weren't learning about this kind of history. So subsequently, when they looked at what happened with these participants that learned this particular history were more likely to adopt new perspectives and support policies aimed at reducing and dismantling structural racism in healthcare. For me, that's a groundbreaking report. I think that's really important because too often we keep hearing that this isn't necessarily what's making the difference. We know so many people have stood tall on what Deborah Bingham has put together in the Speak Up Against Racism course, because this is what she does. In order to dispel myths, she teaches this critical Black history of inequities in health And that's really important. And we've seen so many people at the end of those 8 hours come out on the other side with a new perspective and a new understanding to think about how our policies can support not just Black Americans, but everyone that comes through the door. When we can see that we can have an implicit bias toward one group of people, we can have implicit biases to many different groups of people. And we make changes and improvements to address those that are most impacted, those same changes and improvements improve things for everyone. So if you go to the next slide, I just want to share that you can see my just torch in the air, my pom-pom in the air. I am such a fan of the idea of educating clinicians and people not skipping that step. And I'm even more proud of the 500 plus that we've trained in Massachusetts, because this article by Dr. Johnson and Dr. Martin, it's entitled, "You Can't Dismantle What You Don't Recognize, The Effect of Learning Critical Black History in Healthcare on Perspective Taking," was published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology. Now, this was published ahead of print. So you can still receive the article. However, it'll come in the actual print version, I think, later into this 2023. But that said, I just want to continue to highlight that educating your staff, educating clinicians on these critical issues related to health inequities is what allows us to start thinking differently about the policies in place, not just our individual behaviors, but how our entire system serves groups of people. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Kaylee and say, let's continue the great work on the education on implicit bias that we've been leading.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Meadows. And I put in the chat, we don't have a slide for it because we don't have a registration link yet, but the next virtual Speak Up Champions training for Massachusetts will be March 15th and 22nd, 2024. So you can put those dates on your calendar or just flag March if you haven't yet taken the training. It's really wonderful. And Dr. Amuta says, thank you for your leadership, Dr. Meadows, incredible QI Pearl, and a great reminder to all of us. Agree. All right. So with our last few minutes, I have several PNQIN and partner announcements that I'd like to share with you all. Most importantly, the PNQIN Fall Summit is coming up in about 3 weeks on December 11th. It'll be from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the Four Points Sheraton in Norwood. We're really excited for our wonderful keynote speakers and team presentations. They are listed here. And you can also use this QR code or the link that Caroline put in the chat to register for the summit. There is currently a wait list for the summit because we've reached our kind of max registration capacity, which is amazing. We have, I think, over 400 people registered, which is wonderful. But please do add your name to the wait list. We are encouraging folks to let us know if they can no longer make it. And we also do tend to have some no-shows on the day of. So chances are we will be able to welcome you no matter what. So we are excited to see all of you there. Looking ahead to future webinars, this was, today was sort of the first team presentation for this year's round of webinars, and what you can expect in the coming months is more presentations, a lot like Shirley's. So just hospital teams from across the state coming on to talk about what they're working on with equity, what their challenges have been, any successes so far. And so we really hope you all are able to join us on our next webinar in January, because we won't have one next month because of the summit. We're excited to welcome Brigham and Women's Hospital, and then Mercy Medical Center, Martha's Vineyard, Lowell General, and Tufts as the year goes on. Now, if anybody would still like a chance to present on a webinar, we have April 16th available. I know that's school vacation week, but if anybody will be around and would like to share your work, we do have this date available. So please reach out to us if you're interested. And yes, Audra says, thank you again, Shirley. Fantastic work at the Birthplace. Shirley had to hop off to check on the unit, but we are so grateful for her being here. CME and CEU credits for Equity Bundle webinars, current ones and the ones over the last year, are available until December, so December 3rd. So whether you attended webinars in person or you watched the recording, you are eligible to take a very quick 5-question post-test and get a get credits for any of the webinars that you've attended. So we greatly encourage you all to take advantage of that. And then you may all have seen a few emails over the last couple of weeks, but PNQIN is looking for co-chair applicants. We are looking for an obstetric registered nurse to help chair our OB initiatives. And we are also looking for 2 neonatal co-chairs, 1 MD and 1 RN. You can read more at the links that Caroline has posted. Any application materials can be sent to Caroline at csomerville@pnquinma.org. Her email is in the chat. And if you're interested but have some questions about what this role would entail, please feel free to reach out to anybody from PNQIN. We are also on the lookout for a patient and family engagement coordinator. You all, if you've been on webinars recently, you may have heard that PNQIN has received some funding from the CDC to put together our own patient and family advisory council. And so we're looking for a coordinator to help lead this group of patients, get us organized so that we can better integrate patient experience, not only into PNQIN projects, but into how we are organized as a collaborative. So if you have anybody who would be interested in this role, please share it with them. Dr. Meadows mentioned this earlier, but just wanted to provide a reminder that the equity bundle, kind of as it currently is with the measures and these webinars, will wrap up at the PNQIN Spring Summit in 2024. And then we're going to be switching gears to the perinatal mental health bundle with an equity lens, launching that in fall 2024 under the leadership of Dr. Tiffany Moore-Simus, if you all are familiar with her. She's going to be a keynote speaker at our fall summit, so you'll hear all about the bundle if you attend the summit, and also happy to answer any questions over email if you're interested in joining that bundle.
Can I just ask for some clarification about the OB nurse?
Yeah,
description, it says the title says RN, but then if you go down, it says RN or CNM, like certified nurse midwife. Are you thinking, is it a nursing role, or would midwives be qualified for this? And a little bit question of why they're categorized together.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Kristen, if you're still here, would you like to take that question?
Sure. We did have this debate internally whether nurse midwives should be kept in the provider bucket with MDs, and so but we also then, thanks to some of our nurses, felt that some nurse midwives really do still align with their nursing background, and so we didn't want to exclude anybody from that, if that makes sense.
Got it.
And thank you for that question. Again, just want to put a plug in for our brand new website. We're continuing to add resources from our old websites and migrate things over. You're able to kind of easily join our email list from this website as well. We're still getting things organized, but we're very proud to offer this new resource for you. And this is the website where the recording for this webinar will be posted. And then I mentioned this in the chat when we were collecting aim statements earlier in the webinar, but there is guidance and a worksheet on how to create a Smarty aim statement in our maternal equity bundle toolkit, which is available on our website. And then we've talked a lot about teen birth on this webinar. We joyfully created these respectful care commitments in partnership with Teen Birth. It's available as a poster that you can download or order from Canva if you have interest in working by these commitments and maybe even putting them up in your unit. So that is available as well. Whew, we have a lot going on. So really quick running through the partner announcements. We're coming to the end of Prematurity Awareness Month in November, but we wanted to still spread the word, and NICHQ has a prematurity awareness campaign here if you're interested in checking that out. From our friends at the Perinatal Institute for Quality Improvement, they have a webinar coming up next week for our neonatal colleagues and others who may be interested on promoting neonatal equity and justice through the Neonatal Justice Collaborative. So we're very excited to promote this webinar. It should be a really wonderful presentation. For all of our Speak Up champions in the audience, if you are interested in becoming a Speak Up ambassador, we have a training coming up on Friday, December 1st. We'll be here before we know it. So anybody who's completed champion training and would like to further their progress on the Speak Up action pathway by taking what work they've already done and just sort of enhancing it and learning some more skills, you're able to register for this course for free as an MA provider. We also wanted to announce that the National Health Service has a loan repayment program for any med students or CNM students. They can receive loan repayment through this program if they apply. The application is due by December 7th. And our friends at Boston Medical Center are seeking a program manager for PNQIN, as well as a ambulatory RN to take charge of their remote blood pressure monitoring program. So Caroline has posted the links for both of those jobs in the chat, and they will be in the slides. And lastly, our friends at PQI are really looking for more of their Speak Up champions to take their evaluation survey of the program. They would love to see what has come from all the hard work that they've put into this training and whether folks, perspectives really have changed as a result of this training. They have some offers available as a thank you. You can take the survey at the link Caroline just posted. There we go. 2 minutes over, but to all of you still with me, thank you so much for listening to all of our announcements. And again, happy Thanksgiving. So happy to hear all of the wonderful plans that you all are looking forward to and just soak up all that family time and all that great food. And we hope to see you at the summit. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Happy Thanksgiving all.